Let's actually go Zechariah 3, 1 through 8.
1 through 8? Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. I'll read that. And he showed me Joshua the high priest standing before the angel of the Lord, and Satan standing at his right hand to resist him. This is one of the few times Satan is even mentioned in the Old Testament.
Right. Yes. So to set the stage here, we have the high priest in a temple setting. Satan's there resisting him. Okay. So if you think it's weird if Satan shows up like in a temple setting, he did in the Garden of Eden. He's always there to try to stop your progress towards the Lord. Okay. And here we have the high priest on his way to the veil, and Satan's there trying to prevent him. Okay, keep going.
Oh my gosh. We need to show this to Dave Butler. Why didn't Dave put this in the language of Adam when he was making his argument? This is amazing. And the Lord said unto Satan, the Lord rebuke thee, O Satan, even the Lord that hath chosen Jerusalem rebuke thee. It is not this a brand plucked out of the fire? Now Joshua was clothed with filthy garments and stood before the angel.
Okay, and remember, an angel is generally a messenger. Mm-hmm. So you could even think of the temple workers as angels, right? They're messengers. They're working in the temple. Mm-hmm. Sometimes when I've gone through, especially in the beginning, they actually were angels.
Yeah, Margaret Barker, she like unambiguously says that the angels many times are just talking about the people who were in the temple.
Yeah.
That were officiating. And he answered and spake unto those that stood before him, saying, Take away the filthy garments from him. And unto him he said, Behold, I have caused thine iniquity to pass from thee, and I will clothe thee with change of raiment.
Okay, so why are we changing clothes here?
Because he's going to be entering into a new realm.
Yeah, you can't go into that realm wearing your filthy rags from mortality, right? You're going to become a more refined celestial kind of person through Christ.
This is one of the most explicit temple things that I've read in the
Keep reading, bro.
Yeah.
Can we keep reading?
Yeah.
And I said, let them set a fair mitre above his
What
head.
is that?
That's the hat that the high priest wore in the temple. Looks sort of like a turban. He's getting dressed here.
Mitre upon his head.
Hat.
So they set a fair mitre upon his head and clothed him with garments, and the angel of the Lord stood by. And the angel of the Lord protested unto Joshua, saying, Thus saith the Lord of hosts, if thou wilt walk in my ways, and if thou wilt keep my charge, then thou shalt also judge my house, and shalt also keep my courts, and I will give thee places to walk among these that stand by.
Okay, so pause there for 1 second.
I just had another crazy.
Think about this. It says the angel of the Lord protested unto Joshua. I don't think the word there is protested. I don't think he was holding up signs and going crazy. He's actually, I think it's more of a warning to Joshua, saying, and an explanation saying, okay, you're approaching the veil. Don't take this lightly. Do all the things you're supposed to do. Make sure you're doing this worthily, which we can have a separate discussion about what worthy means.
Yeah.
But sometimes I think maybe we set the bar too high for ourselves.
Mm-hmm. On what that actually means, yeah.
Yeah. That I think something that if you consider yourself worthy, you consider yourself being of worth to do this. It's something that has worth and value. So certainly there are worthiness standards. I don't want to undermine that. But we talk about being worthy to take the sacrament. I think are you coming to the sacrament as a thing of worth? This has worth and value to you such that you will do what it takes to prepare yourself to take that because it has that worth to you. You don't take it casually, right?
Yeah.
You don't take it saying, well, yeah, I've done all these things and I don't really care. I'm just going to take it. I'm just going to do it. It's saying, I care about this. This has worth and value to me. So because of that, I will prepare myself.
That is so interesting because a lot of times, yes, because they're so interconnected. Because if I value and hold as sacred the temple, then I'm not going to live a life that is contrary to the commandments of God and then think, oh, it's okay, I can live however I want to live and then go to the temple, because then you're not valuing the temple as a sacred place.
Right.
and it's not worth anything to you.
Right. You're not taking it seriously. It doesn't have that value to you. You're just doing it to do it.
You turn the sacred space into profane.
Exactly.
So then if the sacrament is just bread and water on Sunday, then if you're living in a way very contrary to the commandments of God and then just taking the sacrament anyway, then it's not worth anything to you. Therefore,
taking the name of God in vain.
Right. Which is actually what it means.
Which is literally what it means. You're taking Christ's name.
Taking his name for vanity's sake, not because it's worth something.
Yeah, I never thought about that. For vanity's sake, it's to be seen outwardly.
Exactly.
That's what that means. That's actually
is
really
also
awesome.
why the temple garment is kept covered, because this isn't a vanity thing to show off to the world. Oh, I went through the temple, I did these things.
For sure.
No, this isn't a status symbol. This is for you. This is because that veil is staying with you.
So worthiness has taken on a whole. Sorry, I just this.
Awesome.
It has taken on a whole new meaning in my head, because it's not because if we truly understand what's in the scriptures, then we're going to understand that we need to raise our bar in terms of how we live our lives to be able to come closer to being like God.
But it's raising the bar from the heart. It's not a checklist just got longer thing.
Mm-hmm.
It's the heart. It's the love. It's the loyalty to Christ. That's the motivation for coming to the sacrament table, for coming to the temple. And so I think the reverse of that is sometimes people beat themselves up and think, I keep screwing this thing up and I shouldn't go to the temple. But it's no, if you're keeping your temple covenants and the temple has that value for you, it is worth it to you. Don't keep yourself out.
Yeah, that's amazing. And I love this idea that we've been talking about, that the veil, so the commandments also act as a veil.
Right.
Almost. Or that's
a really great point.
Where it's that's what keeps us. So once we keep those, we can part the veil. Yeah. Right. Once we do that, and it's for our safety.
Right.
And so that way we don't look up at the sun without sunglasses and go blind.
Right. Which is, I think, going back to this passage in Zechariah, this is not the angel protesting. This is the angel or the helper there warning him, not in a mean warning sense. It's hey, look, if you don't do this worthily, if you aren't taking this seriously and this doesn't have value to you, intrinsic value in your heart, don't do this.
Yes.
Because this is serious. God will not be mocked. Not because he's offended, but because of what it means to enter his presence. This is not something to be taken lightly.
It will destroy you if you mock God.
Right.
And that's why he won't be mocked.
Right.
Right here, I'm looking up the Hebrew word for protest there, and it means to return, to go about, to repeat, to do again. So I think repeat might be the best, where it says,
that's a great word.
Yeah, the Lord repeated unto Josiah, saying,
Joshua.
Joshua. Now, real quick with Joshua, that I recognize, Joshua is actually in the name of Jesus.
That is his name.
Yeah, is his name. It's Yeshua. And because a lot of people might Jesus' name isn't Joshua. The reason why we call Jesus is because we read from a Greek New Testament, and the Greeks did not have a sh sound, and so they had to change Yeshua's name to something that,
and their names also ended with an S, not an
S. Yes. So. And so Jesus isn't his actual name. Yeshua is. And so right in here, you're having this person who is taken on. So Yeshua, and when we are going through the temple, we are taking on the name of Yeshua.
Exactly.
As we're going through it. So that's another amazing symbolism here.
So you get to this point that you just read in verse 7, I'm repeating this to you. I'm reminding you that if you continue on this walk in his ways, keep those commandments, keep all the charges you've been given, and then you'll be made a judge in my house. What does that mean? What's the house? It's the house of Israel, right? And if you're a judge in the house of Israel, you've attained that, right? Those are some of the temple promises.